Hi, my name is Thomas Edwards, and this is my video for my demonstration of learning portfolio. As I entered this program, I hadn't been a student for a long time. I spent over a decade in the military, and I spent another decade or more in the civilian workforce, and I had to learn how to learn again. Luckily for me, my first semester back in the academic environment went very well, and I couldn't have asked for a better introduction back into school. Within the first semester, I was back in the saddle, and I was ready to be a learner again. Since then, I've been going nonstop, including summers, and 7 semesters later, I'm a few weeks away getting my degree. That's not to say it's been all rainbows and sprinkles. Being a returning student into the academic life is hard. I believe it's similar to quitting smoking. That's what I compare it to, which is something that I did 13 years ago as well. And in order to do it and be successful at it, it has to be something that you want for you. You need to want it for yourself, not for anyone else. If you do it for someone else or for something else, it's still possible, but it's going to be infinitely harder, and you are a lot more likely to fail. In fact, this wasn't my first time trying to go back to school. About 4 or 5 years ago, I tried to take classes at the University of Phoenix online, and I did this because it was suggested to me that it might help in my search for a career. So I signed up for classes and attempted to take them online, but I didn't really want to. I was doing it because it was suggested to me that it might be something that's good for me, not because it's something that I actually wanted at the time. I didn't really want to be a student again. I didn't want to have to go through that academic world again. I was doing it for reasons other than the fact that I wanted to. And it was hard to do the work, but it was real easy to come up with excuses. Whenever I didn't want to do the assigned work, either my kids had something going on, or they needed help with something, or my wife needed help with something, or I was just too tired from working all day. I could tell myself that, and it was real easy for me just to skip doing homework that night. Excuses were plentiful. Needless to say, since I'm here, it didn't work out. I ended up dropping out that first semester at the University of Phoenix because I didn't truly want it. This time around, it hasn't been the easiest. I'm still working 40, 50 hours a week, and I'm married. I got 5 active children, and that's not easy to fit in being a full-time student as well. But once I get the degree, it will have been worth it because that is, in fact, what I want. Some transformational moments in education. There's been several over the past 2.5 years that I've spent here at Boise State. First one that's easy to look at is my first semester. I had to transform from my primary position, being a full-time worker, full-time father, full-time husband, and somehow squeeze being a full-time student in there as well. It's required a lot of transition on my part and the part of my family. They played a big role. I missed ball games, I missed concerts, I missed plays, I missed all kinds of other performances that a father should be at, just so I could stay at home and do homework. The dreaded H word. First, my kids and my wife, they didn't approve of those changes. But as we worked on it, I came up with a better schedule because I really knew I needed to do a lot better. So I came up with a new schedule, like 15-minute increments. I would work on my homework on not necessarily the day before they were due or 2 days before they were due whenever I had time. Or if I had a day where I didn't have anything going on, I would spend a little bit more time on homework than I was before. And I started to be able to fit those ball games and those plays and those performances in. And they really, my family really liked that, and they were really behind me. It was quite a transition. Another transformational moment was in my third semester. Since I spent the first 2 semesters catching up on English and taking electives, in my third semester I faced one of my worst fears coming back to school, and that was to take a math class. Up until that point, it had been pretty easy. I had cruised through my first couple of semesters, getting A's and occasional B. Then math came along. Back in the early 90s, I was actually pretty decent at math, but they say you use it or you lose it, and I definitely have lost a lot of those skills. I had to get back into the note-taking mode, going over lessons 2 or 3 times just to try to understand it, putting in all the hard work, asking questions, studying harder than I had in the past couple of decades. And I put my heart and soul in the class, and I put just enough in to get a D. And I really only got that D because the teacher helped me out with points and with extra credit and stuff so that I could get it up to at least a D. I was crushed. Never really got a D before. Especially in a class that I need to get a C in for it to count. So it counted enough to go towards my GPA, but not enough to go towards my degree. Yay. I almost quit. This was one of the transition times where I almost dropped out. My wife actually talked me into enrolling the next semester, And I quickly came back to realizing that this is what I wanted to do, and it was just one of those things that I needed to get past, and I'm glad she did. I took a semester off from math, and then I came back and retook math, and I ended up getting an A. That fulfilled my math requirement, and I've stayed as far away from math as I could since then. Lastly, I anticipate going through a transformational moment in a few weeks. On the 21st of December, I'm going to walk across the stage, and I'm going to get my bachelor's degree. I'm 43 years old. I spent 12 years in the military. I spent a decade and a half in the civilian workforce. I got 5 kids, and I'm now getting my degree. It's something that I've planned to do for over 20 years, and now I can scratch it off my bucket list, and I can finally start the next phase of my life as a college graduate. Describing myself as a student or learner as I graduate here is that being a student is temporary. Being a learner is a never-ending process. I've been a student now for 2.5 years again, but I'm going to be a learner forever. I consider myself a learner. I'll spend the next 20 years of my life being a learner. I believe that as a member of society, we never stop learning. Whether it's a new skill, a new process, there's a new person, there's always something to learn something about. And I plan to embrace that and take those skills that I've honed here at Boise State and use them on the outside world to be the best learner and the best person that I can be.